It's a weird one again today. I've sort of thought about this a lot when stories appear in the news that we really shouldn't be talking about. And then you sort of think, well, it's government policy and it is therefore something that we should be talking about. I don't know when it snaps. I don't think it can. I think this is part of the reason that Donald Trump is still dancing around America, claiming that he won the election. Our systems, I've mentioned this to you a few times, our systems are simply not built to cope with a level of lying that we're now seeing on both sides of the Atlantic. I presume that there are Conservative MPs looking at what's going on and just thinking, this is just insane. I can't actually break cover. I can't join the 20-odd MPs who have actually publicly acknowledged the existence of reality and announced that they can't put up with Boris Johnson for any longer because I'm worried about X, Y or Z, or I've got ambitions in that department, and what if he survives? Then my chances of promotion have disappeared. So there's reasons why people can't tell the truth. But joining in with the lies, there's like different levels of complicity, isn't there? I think silence is compliance in a way, but it's not as bad, surely, as actually amplifying or repeating the lies. And our systems don't know how to cope with it. The American Constitution, for all the sterling efforts of the founding fathers, Alexander Hamilton and his mates, the Constitution just wasn't designed to cope with somebody who would lie as freely and as easily as Donald Trump. And now we're seeing a sort of slightly watered down British equivalent in that I want to talk today about imperial measurements because the government has announced a review again into possibly bringing them back, but they have never been taken away. The front page of the Mail on Sunday yesterday claimed that the European Union had banned the use of the crown stamp on pint glasses, which is categorically and demonstrably untrue. I got sent a photograph of someone enjoying a pint in real time in Malta from a glass that had the actual crown stamp on it, and Malta is in the European Union. It also had the CE mark on it as well, which allows manufacturers to sell goods freely across 20-odd countries with no additional checks. But if you want to have a crown on it as well, you can. If you want to have Heineken stamped on the side of a glass, you can. If you want to have, I don't know, you don't have to be mad to work here, but it helps, stamped on the side of a pint pot, you can. So the idea that you weren't allowed to have a crown on it it's palpably and demonstrably ridiculous. But we live in a country now where it's front page news in what I think is the best-selling Sunday newspaper in the country. Do you see what I mean about the system not being equipped to cope with lying on this level? That's a major newspaper. So you look at it and you think, presumably, unless you're lucky enough to be tuned into this programme every day for your daily dose of truth and reality, you look at that and you think, well, sounds a bit rum, that. I'm sure I had a pint pot with a crown on it in Malta last summer when we were there on our holidays. But, well, I mean, this is a newspaper. They wouldn't be able to print abject rollicks on the actual front page unless there was a sort of scintilla of truth in it. Yes, they would. They would and they do. And that's why I sort of have a curious mixture of bewilderment and amusement on days like this. It's a little bit like looking at the picture on the wall and wondering why other people in the room are pretending it's a picture of a tractor when it's clearly a picture of a bloody horse. It's just bizarre to see the effort that people put into perpetrating these nonsenses. But then you have the other problem, and this is something I wrestle with wrestle's a bit strong. Tussle. This is something I tussle with quite a lot, is that should we talk about something that's obviously bonkers? But then I look back over the last few years and I think not talking about stuff that's obviously bonkers probably acts as a form of fertiliser on the bonkersness. And the bonkersness grows and flourishes because those of us who care and know about the truth don't talk about it because we don't think it's necessary in the face of so much public bonkersness. So I don't know what an example would be. We came a little bit late to the woke party, didn't we? This ludicrous confection, this invented problem that the country is somehow under threat from wokeness or from critical race theory or whatever other nonsenses people are coming up with to essentially just accrue power or money or profile for visiting like a sort of greatest hits of bigotry and bonkersness. So should we talk about the stuff that's bonkers? Or should we completely ignore it? And then, just when you think my burdens could get no heavier, and thank you for the epic amounts of sympathy and violin playing that are currently sweeping the country, just when you think my personal stroke professional burdens could get no bigger, you note that if the government is doing it, if they're turning it into a major announcement, if this is something that is being held up as a, wait for it, a benefit of Brexit, then you have to talk about it because it's actually in the national interest to point out how pathetic it is. It is, if you like, a sort of professional duty almost, surely, for you and for me to talk about reality when the major forces of government and media are increasingly dedicated to punting a completely alternative false reality where you couldn't put a crown on a pint pot for the last 20 years, where you couldn't buy a quarter of aniseed balls for the last God knows how many years, where somehow you had to leave the European Union in order to procure the vaccines that we procured a couple of years ago. It's all untrue. It's categorically and provably untrue. But the government are selling it to the people as something significant, something important, something to be celebrated. So that's why I think we have to talk about it. Would it be completely meta and absurdly self-indulgent of me to add that to the list of questions I'm about to ask you? Should we even be talking about this at all? 0345 60 60973. What's James doing on the radio today? Well, he's doing this topic, but the main point of the topic is to ask people calling in whether they should actually be talking about the thing he's encouraging them to ring in and talk about. You see what I mean about when does it snap? I mean, it snaps with scenes like the January the 6th coup attempt. I know that seems like quite a leap from a crown on a pint pot, but if you allow reality to go utterly ignored in this way, then eventually the blokes telling the biggest lies end up in incredibly horrible and dangerous positions.